Hi, this is Laura Sweeney presenting Relational Dialectics Theory. What are the conflicts of people in relationships? We have opposing desires. This is Relational Dialectics Theory. Relationships consist of opposing desires and incentives that seem to contradict each other. Autonomy versus aloneness. Newness versus predictableness. Closeness versus openness. You want to be in an exclusive relationship with your friend, but you also want to be there for others. This relates to possessiveness versus permissiveness. The woman in this picture wants her husband to learn about the world, but she also wants him to focus on her. It appears that he has his diploma in hand and something else in mind, whereas she is completely focused on her husband. Here is a hypothetical situation. We have a couple staring at each other. They look like they're very much in love. But one says, "I want you to always be there, but I want to go out of town with my friends." In other words, I need you, but I need my freedom. How can this need to be together be balanced with the need for autonomy? Many people have felt this need to be alone with one person, but at the same time to have that freedom to step outside of the relationship and to have a night out on the town with other friends. Here we have another example of relational dialectics theory. We have two businessmen in a hypothetical situation. Possibly they represent two corporations, and one says, "We want to do business with you, but we will keep our options open." The businessman in this case will cease to do business if a better deal comes along. How can one group trust the other group when that other group keeps its options open? Relational dialectics theory deals with autonomy versus connection. You want to be able to make it on your own, but you also desire connection with others. Perhaps you want to do your own thing, but you live with your mom. A couple resides together and works autonomously for separate employers, yet they are connected to their colleagues. This couple has their time that's private just for the two of them, but when they go to work, they have a completely different life at work. So with relational dialectics theory, one must deal with this balancing act. Here is another example of relational dialectics theory. We have a family. We have some middle-aged moms, teenage girls. One of the girls says, "Mom, I want to go to the dance alone. Just give me the money for the ticket." The teenager wants to express freedom and individuality. She wants to live separately from her mom, but she does not take the responsibility to pay for the ticket herself. Is she really autonomous? Relational dialectics theory deals with novelty versus predictability. Predictability seems boring, but novelty can be overwhelming. You love predictability in relationships, but you also love novelty, including a surprise. Here we have another example. This couple walks on the beach. One of them says, "I know I can always depend on you, and I was looking for some more excitement." There is nothing more gratifying and reassuring than knowing someone waits for us. On the other hand, no one wants to be taken for granted like a doormat. Couples need to have free time to communicate with others. How do we deal with this? First of all, couples need to accept the imbalance and benefit from it. If you can't accept it in the relationship, the same goes for business. If the businessmen cannot accept the imbalance, they will have to in the relationship. Or they may decide to rebalance the relationship. Seek time for yourself. This is very important. Everyone needs time to reflect. Have your own space. How does relational dialectics theory relate to the topic of communication? Communicators must make certain the needs of those involved in conversation are met. Communication is a balancing act requiring empathy. Listen to others. Try to understand what others are communicating, thinking, and feeling. Here is some related terminology. Freedom versus not being permitted to do what you want. Subjection versus deciding for oneself. Self-governance versus following orders. Dependence versus independence. We all depend on one another, but we all need to express independence. Aloneness versus togetherness. Connection versus separateness. Solitude versus being accompanied. Self-disclosure versus hiding one's secrets or secret thoughts. One must decide how much he or she wishes to disclose about himself or herself. Self-disclosure can be positive. It can bring you closer to other people. But then again, there's always the risk of too much self-disclosure, especially if the values of other people are different from those of the one who is doing the self-disclosure. Peace and tranquility versus conflict. Controversy versus consensus or agreement. Harmony versus discord. When communicating, we all must do a balancing act between opposing desires. How do you deal with these tensions? Reference. DeVito, J.A., 2011, Interpersonal Messages, Communication and Relationship Skills. Second edition, New York, Pearson, pages 242 through 243.